Amidst the ongoing scans of the situation, Dowan Ha charges forward with a roar, letting out a kargh as he closes the distance. Dowan Ha grimaces as he takes another blow to the gut, his expression twisted in pain and determination. Grunting argh as he clutches his side, he desperately tries to recover. His opponent scoffs, mocking him with a clench of their fists, taunting that he will not be able to strike that same spot again. Dowan Ha stares in disbelief, a breathless "ha" escaping his lips as his plan hits an unexpected snag. The system provides an analytical breakdown of the threat. At most, the creature grows up to 20 feet and weighs as much as 4,188 pounds, with muscle mass making up a whopping 85% of its total body weight. This apex predator sits at the very top of the marine ecosystem's food pyramid, the great white shark. Back in the water, George and Steve realize they have drifted way too far from the shore. "Damn it, George. I think we came too far," Steve shouts, splashing around in terror. George just laughs it off, teasing, "Huh? Geez. You scared, Steve?" They never expected to come across a shark out here in the ocean, but before they can react, an ominous crunch echoes through the water. Dowan Ha recalls the critical advice: to survive an encounter with such a beast, one must go for its nose. The truth is, no matter how strong a living organism is, it has its limits. High above, the swimmers scream, "Holy! Something just touched my foot," while the other dismisses it as a scare tactic. Below the surface, the shark swishes by but lets out a surprised ow. As it realizes its nose is indeed a weak point, proving the system's assessment correct. Dowan Ha realizes that the same principle of physical limitation applies to humans too. No matter how much one trains their body to be hard as a rock, there is no way to work out one's nose. If you go for the nose, even the punch of a mere loser can turn the tide of a fight. The sudden impact forces a gasp from the onlookers. "That was a fake, you douche," one shouts. The strike lands perfectly. A blow to such a vulnerable spot is bound to hurt like hell, marking the true start of this reality quest. The credits for this intense story belong to Ju-won Lee and artist Taesung of Ilab, as the impact of the strike leaves the opponent staggering and crying out in pain. Dowan is left reeling as well. "Ha! sh*t. He breathes, clutching his hand in disbelief. "My fist didn't shatter to pieces." He knows he cannot afford to bet on that 1% critical hit chance again. This is the best he could do. The silence of the room is punctuated by the rhythmic, heavy sound of blood hitting the floor, drip, drip, drip. The opponent clutches his ruined face, a guttural "aya" tearing from his throat. Looking up through the blood and haze, the antagonist spits out, "You bastard," fueled by a desperate, blinding rage. "I'm gonna kill you." The air whistles as the bully lunges forward with a desperate swish, roaring, "I'm gonna rip you two." Dowan doesn't hesitate, meeting the aggression head-on with a sudden, decisive grab. He shuts down the threat with a cold, "Go f***ck yourself." Dowan Ha keeps his grip firm, ignoring the thrashing. "You're the one that's going to die, jackass," he shouts as he yanks the bully down with a violent jerk, forcing a pained, guttural "karg" from his opponent. Dowan Ha refuses to relent, his eyes wild with focus. "Surrender," he demands, teeth bared, making it clear that he is not going to let go until he gets his way. The tension peaks with a sickening crack as Dowan Ha asserts his dominance over his attacker. "Why, you punk," the bully gasps, finally feeling the crushing weight of his defeat. The bystanders watch in stunned silence. "I just got goosebumps," one whispers, while another adds, "Whoa, that punk is so cruel." The bully let out a final, desperate arg as the onlookers stood paralyzed, unable to believe what in the world they were seeing right now. The fight finally breaks, and the opponent manages to wheeze out a broken, "I, sir." With one final, definitive thud, the bully hits the ground in complete surrender. Dowan Ha stands over him, still keyed up and ready for more. Both of them stand there, gasping for air. "Ha!" They struggle, chests heaving as the adrenaline begins to fade from the tense encounter. Dowan Ha looks down, his expression shifting from combat-focused intensity to sheer disbelief. "I did it again," he realizes, staring at the carnage left in his wake. He stares at the mangled, sparking remains of the heavy equipment he had utilized as a weapon, the silence of the room broken only by his own ragged breathing and the faint crackle of broken circuitry. He mutters, speechless at his own destructive power. A sharp, electrical spark crackles from the mangled remains of the equipment, cutting through the heavy silence as Dowan Ha struggles to process the destruction he has caused. Suddenly, a violent kaboom shatters the room as the overloaded machinery finally gives way, the force of the blast rocking everything. In the midst of the chaos, Dowan Ha realizes he has finally achieved victory. The room is quickly consumed by a fierce blaze. Dowan Ha stares on in complete shock, his expression mirroring his disbelief as he questions exactly what just happened. The others nearby panic, shouting in confusion about why everything suddenly exploded. One onlooker admits that while it was a dope victory celebration, they have no idea how he pulled it off. As the fire spreads, the urgency sets in, with everyone frantically yelling that they need to get out of there immediately. Chaos erupts as the realization hits that the elevator won't open. Frustrated and panicked, they look at each other, one voice crying out in confusion, "Ha! What's happening?" Recalling that the police had come to this karaoke club previously, the group is now forced to rush down the stairs. Someone shouts orders to head down, while Dowan Ha feels completely overwhelmed, feeling as though he is being physically shoved down the stairwell, muttering to himself, and this time, a fire? Outside, the group scatters onto the street, breathing a sigh of relief as they escape the building. Dowan Ha collapses in a heap, gasping for breath. He confesses that he thought his heart was going to jump right out of his body. Despite the lingering terror, he manages to plead for a break, whispering to himself that at least he is glad to be out. As he gathers his wits, happy to have survived the ordeal, he suddenly looks around and asks, "Hey, where's Sian?" Someone responds by asking if she is still up there, though the consensus is doubt. They realize that someone has to take care of Sihun, noting that both individuals are affiliates of Borame. Dowan Ha stands frozen, his mind racing in a sudden dash of realization, his expression unreadable as he stares into the void, questioning everything with a lingering, silent doubt. He stares down at the fire hydrant, its bright, cautionary yellow cage standing stark against the dim, industrial surroundings of the hallway, a lonely anchor in the chaos. With no time to lose, Dowan breaks into a desperate sprint, his boots pounding against the stairs as he rushes toward the source of the commotion. Gritting his teeth against the exhaustion, he reminds himself of the urgent warnings, "Get out as soon as possible if there's a fire." "Ugh," he grunts, his frustration mounting as he wonders aloud, what's she still doing up there? He continues to rush upward, his thoughts spiraling. *T, and why am I running up there again, he demands of himself, even as his feet keep moving. He barely knows her, yet the compulsion is undeniable. His internal turmoil peaks as he reflects on his limited connection to her, all he knows is her name. A system notification flickers into view, quest, boy becomes a man. She wants to go shopping with you. Accept the quest and satisfy her. Dowan stares at his shirt, marked with a KK slider print, and sighs, "She has nothing to do with me." Sian stands before him, her eyes fixed on his with an intense expectation, her voice clear as she says, "You promised to stay with me the whole day." Dowan bursts into the room, his adrenaline reaching a breaking point as he shouts, "Sian!" He stops short, breath hitching. He had arrived just in time, stammering, "I came to save only to find the scene already under control." Before him lies the charred, smoking remains of a mysterious object, its surface coated in fire retardant. A faint ho escapes his lips, his confusion complete as he realizes the danger has already been neutralized. Facing the aftermath of the struggle, the man in the suit looks at the protagonist with a cold stare, questioning, "You came to save what?" Dowan Ha stands amidst the wreckage, his spirit clearly crushed as he dejectedly replies, "I came to ask if I can go home now." Internally musing that he just wants to become a dust particle in space to escape this reality. The city skyline looms under the night air, quiet and indifferent to the exhausted protagonist's plight as the streets remain still. The mood remains somber as the news breaks. The General Assembly meeting will be tentatively postponed due to the fire, followed by a promise that the date of the next meeting will be announced as soon as it is confirmed. The weight of the situation settles in completely as the announcement is finalized. The newly appointed representative of Borame is none other than Dowan Ha. Dowan Ha gasps, barely able to process the sudden title. His mind reels at the absurdity of it all, wondering if he has truly been dragged into an Iljan gang, and desperately pleading with himself that this must all be a dream. The woman beside him notices his distress and speaks up with a calm, unnerving assurance, "I'm sure you must be confused." She continues, explaining her intentions with a sense of authority, "I didn't recommend you to that position for no reason. I have a plan, so don't worry too much." She tells him that for now, he should just be thankful he avoided being wiped out by the Iljan gang. Dowan Ha absorbs her words, his expression shifting from panic to a grim realization. He reflects that she is right. If he hadn't become a representative, something much worse would have happened, so he tries to stay focused, telling himself, "Okay, let's be grateful this didn't end up being any worse." They eventually arrive at their destination. Dowan Ha points out, "This is my house," and after a quick, awkward exchange of goodbyes, he suddenly remembers something and calls out, "Oh, right. Here." Dowan Ha holds out a small item, his expression serious as he explains to Sian, "You look like you wanted this back at the arcade, so I won it. But there's only one left now." He presses the prize into her hand, a final token of their recent encounter. Sian stares at the item in her hands, softly uttering his name, Dowan. Dowan flinches slightly, clearly confused by the moment, and asks, "What is this?" To which Sian deflects with a casual, "Oh, that. You kept staring at the claw machine." Dowan quickly corrects her, clarifying, "I wasn't staring at the stuffed animals. I was looking at the wanted poster that was taped to it." The poster was a ridiculous document titled Wanted, featuring a sketch of a strange man in headphones and slippers. It mocked him for stealing stuffed animals, listing his characteristics like wearing shorts in midwinter and having a big nose. With a bounty of 150,000 won, or about $105.50, it was covered in scribbles like "hilarious LOL" and "the owner's going to cry," making the whole situation absurdly comical. Sian looks at him, breaking the tension as she says, "But thanks for what you did earlier." Dowan looks surprised, genuinely puzzled as he asks, What do you mean?" With a gentle, knowing smile, Sian answers, "For running up to save me." Dowan flushes bright red, clearly flustered by her gratitude. "Okay, bye then. Get home safe," she says, and Dowan, still stammering, replies, "Yeah, okay. Bye, Sian." As they part ways. As Dowan stands alone on the dark street, a sudden notification chimes with a loud ding, causing him to stop in his tracks. A system window manifests before him, declaring, "Quest, boy becomes a man. Complete." Staring at the floating text, Dowan lets out a cynical scoff, muttering to himself, "Man? Please. I became an Iljan, you punk." A system window manifests with a heavy, digital weight, informing Dowan Ha that he has successfully cleared a total of 8 chain quests. The notification box hums as it begins the process of calculating his hard-earned reward points. With a sharp ding, the system announces that he has received a reward for his efforts. Dowan blinks, bewildered by the sudden notification, and can only manage a hesitant, "Ha." Dowan is visibly shaken, his face etched with confusion as he stares into empty space, clearly struggling to comprehend the rapid-fire updates from his system interface. The morning sun begins to crest over the skyline, birds chirping as the city awakens, signaling that a new day has dawned while Dowan's reality is still shifting beneath his feet. A lone worker calmly sweeps the pavement near a bus stop, completely unaware of the bizarre system-driven life unfolding right in front of them. Dowan, now dressed in his school uniform and shouldering his backpack, steps forward with renewed, albeit tense, purpose. He comes to a sudden halt, standing before the looming gates of his school, the weight of his new circumstances pressing down on him. Inside the quiet school building, the doors to Class 3 rattle against their frames, the metallic sound echoing through the empty, sterile hallway. Dowan stumbles down the hall, looking absolutely frazzled as he clutches a massive, clattering heap of items to his chest, the noise betraying his arrival. He pauses, squinting at the Class 3 seating chart taped to the wall, his eyes darting across the list as he mutters, "Let's see, where's my seat?" Dowan Ha stares into the classroom, his thoughts racing as he realizes he isn't the first one to arrive. His composure crumbles instantly as he loses his grip, the heavy equipment falling from his trembling hands. The metal gear hits the floor with a deafening clatter, sending Dowan Ha into a panic as he frantically stammers an apology. Amidst the chaos, a student identification card for Yunsong Han of Shernan High School lies discarded atop a phone. Dowan Ha looks up, his expression shifting from embarrassment to sheer terror as he realizes who is occupying the room. The realization hits him like a physical blow. The person in the room is none other than the feared representative of Silam, Yunsong Han. Dowan Ha stands frozen, sweat beading on his forehead as he grapples with the reputation of the most dangerous Iljan in the Gwanak district. Yunsong Han rises from his seat with an intimidating calmness, brushing off Dowan's frantic apologies and telling him there is no need to be so terrified. He reminds Dowan Ha that he is now a representative of the Iljan gang as well, his tone implying that there is no turning back from their dark path. The atmosphere turns frigid as Yunsong Han looms over him, coolly declaring that it would be more efficient to simply beat him into submission right then and there.